Hello there, Alaskans, wherever you are. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Well, welcome everybody to the Must Read Alaska Show. I'm your host, John Quick, coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska. And I hope everybody has had a phenomenal week. We had a jam-packed week here at Must Read Alaska. We had, this is our 6th show of the week. It's number 12 in the last 10 days. And we hope that everybody is filled with the latest and greatest of Alaska. We want to thank everybody that watches, listens, and reads Must Read Alaska. We do this for folks just like you, and for folks that help keep the lights on here at Must Read Alaska. We want to thank you for doing that. And if you want to help keep the lights on, because we're not funded by some big nonprofit dark web money conglomerate, we're just funded by everyday folks like you that listen to Must Read Alaska and love it. So if you want to help keep the lights on, go to mustreadalaska.com. On the right-hand side, there's a little donate button. Click on that. We're funded every $5, $10 donation at a time. But without further ado, we have a very special guest today, one of my favorite people in Alaska, Representative Jamie Allard. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show.
Thank you, John. I'm so glad to be here finally. It's been a little bit crazy down here, but yeah, thank you for having me today.
Well, our folks love you, and we're big fans of all the stuff that you do. You keep everybody on their toes, which I think is a very unique skill set that you bring to the table. We're going to get into it here in a second, but one of the things that just happened was Congresswoman Mary Peltola just gave a speech on the floor. Give us the rundown on how that went and what she talked about and what your take on it was.
Well, first of all, I appreciate that she ran for office and she is our Congresswoman. I don't disagree with, let's rephrase that. I don't agree with probably 99.9% of her politics and her views. Nice enough Congresswoman. It was an interesting speech. There was no, I would say, substance to it. And yeah, I wasn't overly impressed because there was no real answers to questions.
a lot of talk, maybe.
Not even that, just more like, oh, I'd rather hear from you. And I just was like, okay. So I was one of them. I did stand up and ask her, how is your perspective and your view and your thoughts on carbon credit? And she said, well, I'll leave that up to the legislature to decide. I know that her husband has some bit of a vested interest. So it was interesting how she's our sitting Congresswoman, but she had no thoughts. So that was, that was probably the hardest. That was the hardest question. Nobody asked anything else. So,
well, you are in Juneau now. You have been part of what's been, years in the making for folks, forming a majority coalition that is the majority conservative, which is very exciting. So talk to us about, the people outside of Juneau. It's hard for us to understand that process, myself including, of, man, what is it? You don't just go to Juneau and all of a sudden you're in a conservative majority caucus. Tell us about kind of what that process looks like, just for folks that are looking from the outside in and kind of inside.
So I will give you, absolutely. So I'll give you kind of a little bit of context on how it came about. Today, Congresswoman Peltola said that she's proud of the House caucus because we're in a bipartisan coalition. That is not true. I was taken back by it. I think they're trying to plan. I think if the left says it enough that they think people are going to believe it. And the truth of the matter is we're not. We're in a Republican-led caucus. We have the pleasure and the honor of having the Bush caucus with us. Very great people, and we're together as a team. And because of that, it's working out really well. So obviously, after we all won our races, we started having our caucus meetings, and a little feisty, a little spicy, a little bit of headbutting, but we work through it. And it's not probably what people imagine. It's a little bit fierce at times and a little bit tumultuous. But I got to tell you, that's all okay, because I respect every single person in our caucus, and I would have it no other way. If you can't fight for your district, fight for your thoughts, behind closed doors, it's it's good because we're not outside influenced. Nobody can say you shouldn't think that way. We know what our districts want, and that's what we did. So it was interesting turn of events. And there's well, I just say it. I wanted to make sure that the individual who was our speaker was a good conservative, a good Republican, and I say that meaning aligns with me and my district, and I'm not afraid to say it. And there were times, and I don't know if I could say it, I was not going to vote as much as I think she's probably a nice person. Representative Stutes, I felt we had a good representative leadership, and that was Kathy Tilton. So I was a holdout, and we had to come out and figure out a different plan. And I respect every single person. And they said, Bush Caucus. And I said, absolutely. So I was able to get behind it.
I love it. I remember hearing that you held out. A lot of folks don't hear about this because, we're kind of into inside baseball stuff. And I remember hearing you held out and people were losing their minds. And I thought, man, if there's one person that's able to hold off in Juneau and not have it phase her, it's Representative Jamie Allard. So I appreciate that you did that, because what led...
And it's not to throw any of my counterparts under the bus. They all had their perspectives and views. They'd been in the minority for so long. I understand all their perspectives. I respect every single one of them. And they were working hard to make sure we could all come together. And with very much respect, they showed me and they said, you know what? Okay, we're going to work with you too. And it was super nice. And I appreciate that from all of them.
Yeah, and one of the things right out the gate that I think any side of the aisle can appreciate is the new Speaker of the House had the committee on committee meetings open to the public, where before the former Speaker of the House had those closed off secretive meetings happening, which I just don't think is a correct posture for anything in this day and age. Everything should be open to the public outside of kind of executive session, lawyer speak stuff. And our new speaker is going to be phenomenal for Alaska. I'm very excited.
She is. And Kathy Tilton earned it, deserves it. She's amazing. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So you're welcome, Kathy. We love you.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about, when I heard some of your committee assignments, there's probably some more professional way to put it than that. But when I heard that you were going to be the chair of the educational committee, I thought to myself, this is going to be so epic. Like, the unions are probably shaking in their boots, have no idea what to do. Tell me a little bit about some of your committee assignments, specifically about the education one and why you're excited about it.
I don't know if the NEA or the union really care. The truth of the matter is, when we get in a caucus meeting, we all get to do a red robin and kind of say where we want to go. So one of them was, I said, okay, I'll be on the finance committee. And there were several of us. I think I could have got the votes to be on it, but I stood up after putting my name in the hat and I said, if you all will vote and support me to be co-chair to finance or co-chair to education, I will step off finance committee. And I would like to do that. And of course, there were people in the room that their jaws dropped. They're like shaking their head. No, don't do it. But here's the thing. I know it's something to do with, it's the best thing to be on and you on the committee. But the truth of the matter is, nationally, we have, I'm going to call it an epidemic with the failing of our children in the education system. Statewide, we are like horrible. So for me, it just all made sense. So I requested it. I got the support of my caucus and I'm co-chair to education. And I felt I could have done it as sole chair, but they didn't know me well enough yet. And so they're like, well, could you just do the co-chair right now? So we'll see what the future has. But right now I'm co-chair with Representative Ruffage. And then I have my list right here.
Well,
and
I'm excited
I am also
that you're
vice chair.
the education.
What's that?
I was just going to say that I think it's very exciting that you're the education co-chair, because, you're going to bring a unique perspective, meaning that you have kids that are being educated. And man, so many times we get folks that are chairs of the educational committee that last time they had kids in the education system when it's like, 50 years ago.
Yeah. The chair to Senate of education. I don't believe they have kids in the system, which is, I don't want anybody telling my me what to do as a parent when you don't have kids. And there's a big difference when you have children in the system or raising children. It's just a different perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm also vice chair to the judiciary. Um, and then I'm on rules, ways and means. What else am I on? State affairs, joint armed services, and tribal affairs. And I will tell you, and these are all ones I love. And then I have a whole slew of subcommittees. So it's about 12 right now. But once the subcommittees are over for finance, then I'll just be down to the 8. But I want to, when you're on finance, you can't go and dabble in all the other ones. You're held to just finance. It's a good opportunity for me to have input across the board. Yes. So I'm excited.
So recently there was a new freshman caucus that was formed. Are you a part of that? What's your thoughts on that? And how did that whole thing end up coming to be?
I am a part of the freshman caucus by default because I am a freshman, but I am a member of the House Republican Majority Caucus, period. I know that the freshman caucus, they get together for dinner and other things, and I haven't had that time yet, and maybe in the future I will. They're great people, but honestly, my focus is on the Republican caucus, and that's where I'm at. You know, I know the incumbents. These are people I've known for years, and it's fine.
So do you, almost like the minute you left the assembly, all hell broke loose. And
Right? I see. It's not me, John. It's not me. They can say it is, but it really isn't.
like literally like 2 days after you left, they're like, okay, Jamie's gone. Now we can do all the stuff we wanted to do, but we're Jamie's
Right.
gone to, can't stop it. So just, we don't need to go super into it. Do you miss being on the assembly? Do you have any words of wisdom for them now that as they're, seem to be digging a bigger hole by the day of putting their head in the sand?
I will tell you, I learned a tremendous amount. It absolutely 100% prepared me to be on the legislature. I miss the public, 100%. I miss the testimony. I miss them coming out. I miss every single person, whether you agreed with me or not. I miss public testimony and involvement. A word of advice to the assembly members: TikTok, the pendulum will swing, and I'm rooting for some of these folks who are running for the assembly. And I hope we have a little bit of a transition and we get some other folks on there. Diversity and balance is needed on the assembly, and as long as we keep going one direction, then you're not getting representation across the board, and that's unfair. But hey, they can keep up their antics, and we should look forward to detaching Eagle River, because if this is what you want, then this is what you're going to get. So it only encourages, I hope, the community of Chugiak Eagle River to really think about the detachment and be able to be on our own.
So you're going to have folks listening in here from your district specifically. Do you have a message to them? I'm sure that you're in communication with them, but this is a great time just to kind of get something out to them and the folks that, you have out of all the representatives in Juneau, you have a very decent following of conservatives all around the state that care about what you're doing. So what's your message to them?
I will not let you down. I don't know why people come down to Juneau and their perspectives change or their values. I have no idea what that means. It's not for me. I get text messages from people back home saying, hey, thank you, or stay focused, don't change your perspective or your views. I'm 52. That view and perspective is already embedded. I am not going anywhere with my views. I will represent Eagle River the best I know how, and I am involved with the majority. I am working well with everybody. The narrative that was painted of me being on the assembly, I got to tell you, it's great down here. And I like all the Republicans. I get along very well with each of the Democrats, and we're just moving forward. So no, we're going to make a difference, and I want my district to be proud of me, and I'm very proud of mine. So all the constituents.
Nice. Well, Jamie, Representative Allard, I'm very excited that you're down in Juneau. I look forward to seeing what you're going to accomplish. And just in the short time there, helping us get a new Speaker of the House that is a true conservative is a a pat on the back to you because I know you had a big part and big role in that. So kudos to you. Do you have any last minute thoughts before we head off here?
I do. I want to encourage everybody across the state. If you have any concerns, there's a couple of things I want to bring forward. We need to extend the school year. I know people are like, what? If you extend the school year about 10 days, you're going to add a year and a half on to the education from kindergarten to 12th grade without extending up until 20 years old. I think that's amazing. People need to look at that. Future plans to consolidate our school districts. We don't need 54. We could go down to probably 15, but I'd rather go down to about 7. I would love to cut the ASD in half because I don't feel that we're being represented properly by one school board that has so much control over the largest district in the state of Alaska. And I just want to encourage everybody, text me, email me, call me. If you're down here, come to my office. You don't have to have an appointment. Come in. I will sit down and I will make time for you.
Awesome. Well,
100%.
Great point on the school board. There's a Dave Donnelly is running for re-election, and he is the sole conservative on the school board. So I think it's an at-large position. So make sure to get out and vote for Dave because he's by himself on the school board, and he helps keep checks and balance system that otherwise would not be there if we don't at least have one on there. So
Yeah.
Representative Allard, I appreciate you coming on the show. I know the folks will appreciate hearing from you. We wish you nothing but success here at Must Read Alaska. It'll be fun to see your journey, and I know that the sky's the limit for you. So
Thank you, John.
Hope you have a great rest of your day, and thanks for taking 20 minutes here with us. Until next time, I'm John Quick from somewhere in Alaska.